Hi guys, and welcome to this video on the new moon in Taurus that happens on the 30th of April 2022. Thanks for joining me. It's a pleasure to be with you today. I'm going to give you a rundown of this chart next to me here. That's a snapshot of the sky at the moment this new moon happens. And I'm going to look at how the planets interact with one another, what energy that brings up, and how you can use this to your advantage. That's the whole point of these horoscopes, to try and understand the energy so you can make the most of it. Now, the new moon in Taurus happens at 9:27 in the evening, and that's based on Europe time. So if you're in a different time zone, then take that into account, please. But this is a really special new moon because it's the second new moon that we've got in the month of April, and it's known as a black moon. So the same thing, if you have two full moons in a month, the second full moon is called a blue moon, and that's where the saying comes from, once in a blue moon. It's something that happens rarely, and it's a special event that you ought to pay attention to, I suppose. So same thing with a new moon. The new moon is when the sun and moon conjunct one another. The moon goes pitch black, and it pulls lots of energy in to start its next 28-day cycle, right? So with this being the second new moon in April, it focuses even more on this ability to plant seeds for the future, to look at what you want to do moving forward, and to almost draw a line under the past and to say, okay, we're done with that, let's look at the future, and almost exclusively. So if you look at this in terms of the kind of symbolism of it, you know, if something is pitch black, there's absolutely no light. And sometimes if you're trying to daydream or use your imagination or manifest, or you're trying to get a sense of what's going on internally, sometimes you need peace and quiet. You need total silence or a lack of light to kind of gather your thoughts and to find yourself as such in that peace and quiet and dark. And because we live on planet duality, everything has its opposite. So we've got left and right, up and down, dark and light, black and white. So if there's extra room for you to kind of contemplate and to dream, then if you use this opportunity of the black moon, the flip side of that is more light, more enlightenment, more joy, more control. So if you've been feeling a little bit trapped or stuck, or there hasn't been a lot of clarity in terms of what comes next, or even what do I care about? You know, if you have a major passion in life, then it's easy to figure out how you can turn that into a career, or how to bring more of it into your life, or to use it as a hobby, or whatever it may be. I think that the real problem sometimes is understanding what your talents actually are and finding something that interests you, that you care about. So if you're in that situation and you're pretty ho-hum about most things, but you would like to kind of devote yourself to something, then this is a good opportunity to dig deep and to really go within and to say, what is it that makes me feel comfortable or able, or what gives me a sense of empowerment, control? I'm using my talents in a specific way here. Because I feel, you know, this chart here that I've got next to me, if I draw up your birth chart, I do the same thing. I use your place of birth, date of birth, and time of birth, and then I get a snapshot of the sky as well, right? And each chart, as far as I'm concerned, contains some sort of gift or talent or asset or something that comes easily. So I feel that if we all have that in our chart, if we all have something where we excel, where we're naturally wonderful, then each person does have a purpose. They do have something that they can engage with to create meaning and value for themselves and others. So again, because this is now a complete blackout, and you've got you're being given the time here to look at what you're all about and what gives you that sense of control. If you haven't figured it out yet, take 5-10 minutes for yourself and say, okay, what is it that I do naturally or for myself that I enjoy, that I feel good at? And how can I make that bigger? How can I turn it into something that serves me in my life and serves other people in theirs? Okay, so the chart in itself, we have the sun and the moon conjuncting one another. Obviously, they sit on top of one another. That's why the moon is pitch black. And they're both at 10 degrees in Taurus. So 10 reduces to 1 in numerology. 1 is the vibration of the pioneer, the boss, the person who's independent, who's in charge, who takes responsibility for a situation and says, how am I going to problem solve? So 1 in numerology, as far as I'm concerned, is the same as a new moon in astrology. So this is a new moon in Taurus. It's a black moon, so it's a new moon squared. And then it's a 10 degrees, which is to the power of 3. So this is really about, okay, let's put on the brakes here. Stop everything. Major timeout. Doesn't matter what's happened in the past. The future is in front of you. It's totally blank and neutral. You can color it in whichever way you want it to be. It gives you total control. And then Taurus is a fixed sign. It's the second sign of the zodiac. It's an earth sign, so it's concerned with practical things, work, money, how you live, where you live, the environment. And any kind of fixed sign is about trying to maintain what is and to perfect it. And Taurus particularly is an earth sign that likes to have control. It's on the axis with Scorpio, so the two oppose one another. Taurus likes practical physical control. How much I have in my bank account, whether I can go for lunch or not, what my schedule looks like, the clothes I'm wearing, how much I work, how much I get paid for work. I want to know what's going on there. Scorpio is about emotional control. It's like, I have this family. I want us to be a tight-knit unit. I want to know that my children love me, for example, and I want us to have a close connection. So it's about the self in a situation and saying, I want to not be on the periphery, on the sidelines. I want to be in the center of this situation and feel like I matter. So if this new moon then is in Taurus, your life, your practical circumstances are going to matter to you. And a lot of people, when I lived in England, I noticed this. A lot of people have like these things about money and class. You know, in England, the class system, my experience of it anyway, was that it's still very much alive. So you've got working class, middle class, and upper class. And a lot of like ideology and instruction come with those labels. I remember I was driving with someone and we lived in an area that was like normal. And we were driving through, it was in Manchester, like Alderley Edge or Altrincham or something. It was like one of the fancy parts of town. And the guy got really agitated and he was like, oh, look, this is how the other half live. And it was almost like wealth and abundance. And then he said some things about how money is, it must have been appropriated negatively if you have all this wealth and stuff. So there's all this stuff about wealth and finance being something negative, or something nefarious must have happened for another person to create wealth, right? And what I'm getting with this new moon is that if you have preconceived notions about what you're allowed to have and what you're not allowed to have, or your background is this, therefore your future has to be this. This black moon is such a neutral, quiet zone that you're able to think about those things you've been indoctrinated with and to say, are those really true for me? Do I need to live a life that's been laid out for me by my family or society or whatever? Or am I a free person who can do and be whatever they want to be? And you know what I'm going to say, right? It's the latter. You can do and be whoever you want to be. And if you started life out in Altrincham in Manchester and your whole family's there and you're expected to work as a dentist or whatever, but it's your dream to move to Thailand to live in a hut on the beach, then that's your prerogative. So not only are you able to pinpoint this is what I want, Taurus is kind of stubborn and it's got the confidence to actually say, it's okay if you don't understand my hopes and dreams. It's fine. I don't need to convince you. I don't need to explain it to you. All I need you to do is not stand in my way because I'm going to do it. So the 10 degrees of the new moon, the fact that it is a black moon, this Taurus energy, you're not going to be vulnerable to naysayers or people putting you off or saying, oh, okay, the rules say this, so I can't do it. You're really going to bristle against those kind of obstacles that are placed in your path. And you're going to say, okay, well, just another hurdle I have to jump through. I've jumped hurdles in the past. I can jump these as well. So you truly believe in yourself here. And I'm also getting that your voice is really strong. This is what I want, so I'm going to express it. With that coming in now, just be careful that you don't get involved in discussions which are ineffective. and you're just going round in circles and discussing something that you're clear on anyway, I think that potentially could be a waste of time. So if you find yourself getting into arguments, trying to explain your point of view, and it actually sucks up your time and you're not then doing it, then just kind of pull back from that and say, all right, thank you very much. I'm just going to get on with things. Uranus is in Taurus. That's at 14 degrees. Uranus is the planet of the miraculous and the unexpected and the eccentric, electricity, brain waves, different ways of thinking, different ways of living. You know, the thing that's coming to mind is a friend of mine visited me here in Austria last year, and we went to the English theatre or something, and there was a play by some Travels with My Aunt Augusta or something like that. It was like a play about this woman who was very unconventional. And I was delighted watching this because it was just like the people I find most interesting in life are the ones that don't conform to society and continue to live their own truth. Yes, it's more difficult, but it's so much more interesting for the audience. So I'm not saying make your own life more difficult so that the rest of us are entertained watching you, but I'm saying there is beauty and there is value in not conforming and being yourself. Because we've got enough lemmings on planet Earth, right? We need some originals, I think. So Uranus is 4 degrees away from this new moon, so it's conjunct. 10-degree orbs I use. And Uranus and Taurus is about chaos in a practical sense. So if I was a mundane astrologer, like who used astrology to talk about the world and stuff, I have certain opinions about Uranus and Taurus and things like Brexit and COVID and all the upheaval we've experienced over the last few years. But if we're looking at this personally, it means that you can see your circumstances and you no longer let them define you. As in, this is who I am and I happen to live in this city and go about my business. It's not that I am a city dweller and I have the accent of this city and I identify as this person who lives in this city and then comes my identity. You know what I mean? So you're not going to let anything define you. The rules seem more like guidelines. Anything that seems to be set in stone is now erasable with the little... So anything that would have seemed to be written in ink before is now written in pencil and you can just rub it out. So you feel like you have many more options. Nothing is going to cramp you. You're not in a straitjacket. You're free to do as you please. So we have that via the Black Moon, but Uranus now adds a whole like Aunt Augusta quality to it. And it's actually taking pleasure and joy in your own eccentricity. Which is fun. You know, if you can laugh at your own jokes, then who cares if other people are laughing? If you... Hey, that's the whole gist of my work here. Okay, anyway. So, no, of course it's better if other people join you in the good humor and stuff. But if you're amused, if you're having a good time, then who cares if other people get it or not? Okay, then we have the new moon forming lots of relationships with other things. First of all, we've got a sextile between the new moon and Mars at 11 degrees in Pisces. Mars is the red planet. It's your sense of ambition and drive. This is what I want. This is what I'm not going to compromise on. This is what I'm doing, okay? And it's in Pisces, which means that spiritual understanding and being true to yourself and being authentic, that is taken top priority. So you're not going to BS your way through something just to keep other people happy. You're going to say, well, I actually have an opinion too, you know? It's at 11 degrees, which is the master number of service. So the good news is that your opinion, your view on things, your perspective is valuable. And if you express it, it will put it out into the universe and it'll be easier to manifest. But you can also really enrich a situation where someone else may not have all the details or all the info, or may not know how to go about certain things. And you can really work to inspire someone or to motivate them. And that works vice versa. So if you're... you got all these plans and ideas and you want to get on with them, but you feel a little bit, and you've got this amazing friend who always has your back, speak to them because they will give you that extra push and that extra confidence that you need to do it. And then also if there's someone in your life that you care about, who you care about, and you think they've got a fabulous idea, but they're like a little reluctant, then you talk to them and color it in and help them along. So total self-confidence, but that is so strong that it can be, you can lend it to other people as well. The moon, not the moon, Mars there in Pisces, it sits next to Neptune and Venus and Jupiter, but it's not technically conjunct. So it's a specific type of energy. I'll touch on Venus and Neptune and Jupiter later on, whether they're conjunct or not, because those are really important to me here in this chart. Let's look at the actual aspect patterns though. So we've got that one, the sextile between the new moon in Taurus and Mars. Then we've got a quincunx to the rising sign in Sagittarius at 7 degrees. In your birth chart, the rising sign is your default setting. If you're in a crisis, this is how you'll naturally react. So here, the fact that we have a Sagittarius rising means that if anything is problematic, you're going to choose to move forward anyway, rather than to let yourself be stopped. At 7 degrees, it's the mind and creativity. Because you can see the solution, or you can think your way through things very easily, that's why you're able to kind of swerve through any obstacles and move on no matter what. So the big decision of the day, if things are problematic, do I say, oh, it's not the right time, maybe I'll back off, learn more and just do it later? Or do I just keep going and learn on the job and make this happen now? Then this chart is saying, make it happen now. That's going to work much more in your favor. So, weirdly enough, those are the only two aspect patterns that this new moon in Taurus makes. It sextiles Mars, and then it quincunxes the rising. And it conjuncts Uranus, which I've mentioned. So not only is it pitch black and quiet and calm, and gives you really, I don't know, like, okay, pictures, right? Back in the day, you had to put those in a dark room or a red room or something. And it's quite a nice metaphor, I guess. You have to take these images that were captured in daylight or whenever, and you have to immerse them in darkness to develop them. They have to grow in the dark so that they can then shine in their own right and appear as pictures. That's the opportunity you've got here. And because we have very few aspect patterns, just these three relationships really, the other planets are also kind of backing off, and they're saying, we're not going to throw everything we've got at this cute little black moon. It's not cute at all. It's actually super powerful. It means that you're not overly bombarded with stuff, and you actually can enjoy the peace and quiet to flesh things out for yourself. But we do have some of the other planets hovering around and creating other relationships. And I do want to look at Venus and Neptune and Jupiter. Okay, so those three are sitting together in Pisces, and that's really, to me, is like the era of harmony and love and the ability to manifest good things. Venus is the personal planet of love, beauty, creativity. At 27 degrees, that's 9, that's the hermit, spirituality and completion. In Pisces, the spiritual sign, 12th sign of the zodiac. It's really, I love to engage on a spiritual level with my higher self, and I'm going to let it guide me. I'm becoming enlightened here, so let me listen. Neptune is the higher octave of Venus. It's love on a global level, and it's at 24 degrees in Pisces. So if I look after myself and if I maximize my potential, then I'm going to be happier in life. And that's going to have an indirect influence on those around me, because if I'm a happy person, then I'm going to give that off. I mean, you may think that's overly simplistic, but if I'm fundamentally happy, I'm going to affect those around me much more positively than if I'm just grumpy all the time, and people will feel that coming off me. Then with Jupiter, Jupiter is the lucky planet, and it expands everything. It makes it bigger, and it's at 27 degrees in Pisces. So the hermit is like not just living within you, it's like he's like in your aura. So the hermit is kind of your spirit guide during this black moon, and he's saying, it's okay, don't be afraid of the dark. We all have to kind of walk around in the dark sometimes if we want to uncover hidden secrets, if we want to put our finger on what's really going on, if we want to find the solution to a problem. And I'm here helping you with it. It's like a nightlight. You know, when like, I've got this really annoying adapter, because all my plugs here, all my stuff is still from the UK, and the Europe plugs are different, right? So I've got this one plug, and the good thing about it is it's got two things in it with one plug at the end, so I can put two appliance plugs in it and then stick it in the wall. But it's got this super annoying green light, and it just, at night in my bedroom, it just puts it in this eerie green light. Some people like that. Some people find it comforting. Having a little nightlight. The kids love them, don't they? Yeah, it just softens the vibe of the room. Other people like me hate it, find it very distracting. And if I want to sleep, I have to have pitch black darkness, right? So that's what this black moon does. Gives you pitch black, peace and quiet darkness so you can rest, and you can recharge, and you can regroup, and then scoot off in a better direction in future. Why did I say that? Oh, because the Hermit, Jupiter, gives you access to the Hermit, and the biggest luck factor comes from finding answers for yourself about your future. You can inspire others, you can be inspired, but that's kind of a detail. The key is the meat and bones of what you want to do in future. And that's the answer that you're able to receive here. Okay, what else have we got? Oh, looking at the major aspect patterns in this chart, we've got a big blue triangle here, right? But and a big blue triangle is 3 trines connecting to create a grand trine, which is an area of talent. But a grand trine only ever exists in one element, air or fire or earth or whatever. This one's squished. It connects Pluto in Capricorn, which then trines the midheaven in Libra. That then trines Gemini, Mercury in Gemini. So we've got a grand trine here of air and earth. I always count these things if they're squished or not, or perfect or not. It's trying to tell me something, so I always look at it. And this grand trine, I would say, is your ability. Mercury at 0 degrees in Gemini allows you to see beyond all the nonsense and to get to the solution, and to also encourage you to say, go through, it's good there. Libra allows you to bridge the gap between your higher self and your physical reality. And then Pluto in Capricorn allows you to transform your reality. So that grand trine, so the talent, not just via the new moon, but by this grand trine, is that your vision is super clear, and then your roll up your sleeves ability to get things done is hand in hand with that, and that's why you're so productive. Then we've got 2 sextiles sitting on top of this grand trine, again kind of squished. So if you're a purist, you're not going to count this as a kite. I will. And a kite is a talent that's so big that it can be life-changing. So if you have that in your birth chart, that's always really nice to see, because then you have a special gift and talent. The 2 sextiles combine Jupiter and Venus, and I suppose Neptune even, because it is kind of squished. Right. So it's the accessibility of your spiritual truth, your higher self, your authentic real self that refuses to compromise, that you can kind of talk to in a loving, easy way through your feelings. That then gives you the confidence to use your clarity of vision and your ability to affect practical change. And it just kind of pushes you and says, just do it. Even if you don't have all the details, just get on with it, please. So if you're someone who hesitates a lot and who struggles, and you have to do like years of research before you can make any inroads, this is a kind of shortcut available to you today. We also have a T-square. That's the opposition between Venus and Jupiter and the midheaven in Libra. And then that opposition peaks with 2 squares, connecting Black Moon Lilith in Cancer at 1 degree. So a T-square is an area of unresolved friction. And, oh, that's interesting. Because I said Libra bridges the gap between you and your higher self. And that's the primary relationship you should rely on. But the opposition says, do I connect with my higher self exclusively, or do I also connect with other people and learn from them? My suggestion would be to learn from the school of the universe or your higher self, because if you focus too much on other people on this day, you could take it a little bit too far, and you may start to feel responsible for their well-being. Or if they seem to be inexperienced in a particular area, then you could just say, okay, step aside for a minute, I'm going to do it for you. And that's a big no-no on this day, because you're supposed to be doing stuff for yourself. So if you're then playing nursemaid or babysitter to someone else, you're wasting your time. Sorry, you may not like that, but this is about you changing your future, and you can't do that if you're just like, you know, putting band-aids on and comforting people all day long. Well, play that by ear, you know? Something dreadful just happened to your best friend. You're not going to go, excuse me, I'm working on my project. But try and keep things on track so that you can be productive, right? Okay, let's see anything else that jumps out at me here. We've got the squished little kite. We've got the T-square. That's it in terms of major aspect patterns. Pluto and Saturn are kind of doing that. I've mentioned Pluto. Saturn is pretty humble on this day. I don't think the influence of Saturn makes things more difficult for you. So if you feel controlled, trapped, not so relevant. If you feel like, oh, these people around me, the society says I can do this and I can't do that, you're no longer interested in that either. You're like, okay, well, take your society and run with it then, please, thank you. And then it squares the North Node in Taurus. So it's like, do I either keep compromising myself here for the rest of my life, or am I just a free person who can do whatever they like? I don't know. I think that's quite a generational thing as well, you know, because, well, is it? I don't know. Maybe it's just a people thing. But I've never thought of myself as that. I've never been like, I'm a free person. I'm always right. I can do whatever I want. I've always felt a little bit more, where can I fit in and how can I make this work? But I know a lot of people in my life who have that. And sometimes it can come across as super entitled. It's like, okay, queen of the universe. But on the other hand, I think, wow, you're so confident in yourself. I love it. And you know, whether we're 20 or 80 or whatever here, on this day, during the new moon in Taurus, we're all able to tap into that entitled sense of, it is my life. I'm not being accused of any crimes here. I can move if I want. I can work in any job I want. I can live my life however I want. And it's not that I owe it to myself to explore that, but it's like I can explore it if I want to. So I like that because it means you have a lot of like self-belief and you're chomping at the bit here to say, it's my life, how can I make it my own? So that particularly then speaks to people who are in situations where they feel powerless. If you've got into some sort of religion or group where you feel like you're being hammered or bombarded, that you're wrong, and then you know, and you find it very difficult to break out of that kind of thing, this gives you the opportunity to say, enough already, okay, thank you. Or if you have an addiction, you're able to say, do I really want to be addicted to this for the rest of my life, or do I want to make a change? If you're in a job that you really no longer love, but it still pays the bills, and you're like, okay, I'm going to be able to face the discomfort of changing this so that I'm happier in my work and I get benefits, but I'm not like a zombie here hating every moment. Living, really anything, living situation, relationships, if you feel trapped, if you feel powerless, this is the day where you get your power back. Just say universe, or say, hey, conjunction of Jupiter, Venus, Neptune here. I need some support. I need some certainty. Give it to me, please. Gimme, gimme, gimme. It will be provided. Right. Creative people, if you've censored yourself, you want to paint something or write about something that cannot be spoken about, it's taboo, try writing about it today. You may express it beautifully and even create a new genre. Really, it's about breaking the barriers and saying, whatever people, I'm doing what I want, okay? Here it is, take it or leave it. And that's where the value comes from, that risk and that brazen ability to say, it is what it is, thank you, here you go. Yeah, sometimes that needs to happen. All right. I'm thinking of like, there's some sort of cake here in this country that was invented by a 16-year-old. Yes, there's some sort of like famous cake, okay? And it's like a staple. And if you come visit Vienna, for instance, then it's part of the tourist itinerary to go visit this cafe and to have a piece of their cake and da-da-da. So it's seen as this 100 years long tradition. But the thing is, like a 16-year-old intern, like a chef study, invented that cake. So sometimes brilliance comes from people who have a little bit of gall, not a huge amount of experience, but they're just being their authentic selves. And that then is appropriated by the rest of society, which says this is good. But it needed someone who was a rebel, someone who didn't care about the rules, and who just said, I'm making this for it to exist. Does that make sense? That's why institutions don't usually come up with amazing ideas, individuals do. Okay. Strongest element of the day is Earth. Earth is life purpose when it comes to your work, money, living situation. So again, that's all like putty in your hands. You can tweak it and make whatever you want out of it. And the strongest mode is mutable. So it's adapting what is, going with the flow by saying, this is what I care about. How can I implement it? Yep. So I hope that gives you an idea of what you'll be working with here during this Black Moon, New Moon in Taurus on the 30th of April. I hope you have a fabulous time. Oh, and the influence of a new moon and a full moon, as far as I'm concerned, lasts 3 days. So this is accessible on the 29th, 30th of April, and then also on the 1st of May. Yep. I hope you have a wonderful time. If you'd like a personal reading with me, please get in touch via my website. It's gregoryscott.com. On the front page, click on book your reading to order your reading with me. And in my personal readings, I then use astrology. So I'll draw your chart the way I've got this chart here. I'll analyze that. I'll also look at the tarot and use the numbers to kind of answer any questions you may have or to give you an idea about your chart, natural strengths and weaknesses. I look at the progress chart, the transits to see what's coming up in future. I also use the tarot for that, and astrocartography, if there's anything around moving and different locations, how they influence you. So if you're interested in any of that, please do get in touch with me for a personal reading. Oh, and also if you don't have your time of birth, there's a process called chart rectification where I can work out your time of birth. I just need 10 or more life events, and then I can actually pinpoint when you were born on that day. So if you want to find out what your time of birth is, head over to the website. If you like this video, then give it a thumbs up. Please hit subscribe and share it online. I hope you have a wonderful couple of days here, and I'll speak to you for the daily tarot readings and the weekly horoscopes. All the best.